The sound of twisting metal hit like thunder. A 30-ton cement truck from the HOA had just slammed straight into my new steel gate and lost. The bumper folded, the radiator hissed, and the driver stumbled out dazed. Karen Myers, the HOA president herself, came screeching up seconds later screaming when she saw the private property. Access denied sign flashing red above her name. That's when she finally realized I wasn't bluffing anymore. It all started a few months earlier, back when mornings on my porch still meant peace. I'd sit with a mug of black coffee, Duke lying at my feet watching mist rise off the yard. Then one morning I noticed tire tracks cutting across the far edge of my property, muddy grooves that didn't belong. I figured maybe a neighbor got lost, but the next day the tracks were deeper, wider, and by the third morning a bright yellow dump truck roared right across my land like it owned the place. No hesitation, no caution, just barreling through the old easement that hadn't been used since the 1980s. That was my land. Private, deeded, surveyed, not HOA common space, not a road. Mine. I took pictures, sent emails, even called the city. Everyone passed the buck, not our issue. So finally, I called the HOA. That's when I first heard her voice. "Hello, this is Karen Myers, president of Lakeside Oaks Homeowners Association. How may I help you?" I explained the situation: trucks crossing my property, tearing up my garden beds, snapping my irrigation lines. She paused, then gave that kind of condescending chuckle only a seasoned bureaucrat can manage. "Oh, that strip, that's just an old construction path. We assumed it was unclaimed. The contractor's just trying to save time." Unclaimed. I nearly dropped the phone. It's not unclaimed, it's mine. I've got the deed and they're trespassing. "Well," she said sweetly, "please be neighborly. Be neighborly." That phrase still makes my jaw clench. I hung up, installed motion cameras, and waited. Within a week, I had hours of footage, trucks passing through one after another, drivers tossing trash out their windows. Then, one Sunday morning, they clipped my garden arch, the wrought iron one my wife Amanda gave me before the accident that took her life. It was bent, snapped at the base, rosemary crushed beneath it. Something in me cracked. I wasn't part of their HOA. I had retired from civil engineering years ago to live quietly on this land, the one place that still felt like ours. And now, these people were driving over her memory like it was a shortcut. I filed formal complaints, sent photos, even mailed certified letters. The HOA replied once, "The board will review this matter at our next monthly meeting." 3 weeks away. So I took matters into my own hands. I dusted off my old surveying gear, set new boundary markers, powder-coated steel pins 2 feet deep, bright orange flags waving like battle standards. Then I drew up plans for something bigger: a gate. If they wanted to treat my land like a road fine, I'd give them a roadblock they wouldn't forget. 2 days later, a white SUV rolled into my driveway. Karen Myers herself stepped out, heels sinking into gravel, sunglasses hiding what little humanity she might have had. "Mr. Garrett," she said, forcing a smile, "I thought it might be helpful if we spoke face to face. I understand there's been concern about the construction trucks." "Concern?" I asked. "You mean trespassing and destruction?" She kept that thin smile. "Let's not ruffle feathers. The route's temporary. We're under pressure to finish Phase 3 by June. I'm sure you can show some flexibility." "You mean let you keep destroying my property for free?" Her smile faded. "If this escalates to legal action, it could cost you more than it's worth." There it was, the threat. "If one more tire touches my land," I said, "I'll take it up with the sheriff, the zoning board, and my attorney. You don't have a leg to stand on." Her eyes narrowed. "We'll see." Then she turned and stormed off. I thought that might be the end of it. It wasn't. Over the next few weeks, the trucks kept coming. Then came the notice. A folded letter slipped into my mailbox. HOA letterhead, no postage. It warned that any unauthorized construction or obstruction could be subject to review. They knew I was building something. And they were right. By then, I'd already poured concrete footings, welded steel beams, and set up floodlights. The gate would stand right on the property line, tall, black, unapologetic. Not blocking them, just stopping them from cutting through. Then one morning I heard the crash. A flatbed truck had missed the path and plowed straight into my garden. Amanda's tomato vines torn from the soil, the trellis snapped in half. I remember kneeling in the dirt, holding one of her plants in my hand, shaking. The stem was still warm from the sun. I broke, not from anger this time, but from grief. I sat at the table for an hour, silent, staring at nothing. Maybe I was the one being unreasonable. Maybe I should just let it go. Move somewhere else, start over. But then I saw the seed packet Amanda left behind, Cherokee Purples, her favorite, and I knew I couldn't walk away. If I did, I'd lose her twice. So I got up, wiped my face, and got back to work. By the time the HOA's lawyers sent their formal threat, I had already built the gate. Reinforced steel frame, 4-foot concrete anchor, solar-powered lock-motion lights, and 2 HD cameras feeding straight to cloud storage. Every detail by the book. Every bolt documented. When their letter accused me of obstructing a historic utility easement, I just smiled. I had the 1984 city resolution vacating that easement stamped, signed, certified. I wasn't just building a gate, I was building a case. Then, one morning, the first truck stopped. The driver hesitated, confused by the new barrier. I watched from my shed as he reversed and drove off. I almost laughed. Then, another truck came, this one not stopping at all. It rammed the gate at full speed. The sound of steel meeting steel was music. My gate didn't move an inch. 10 minutes later, Karen arrived. Her Lexus threw dust into the air as she slammed her door and stormed toward the gate phone pressed to her ear. "What the hell is this?" she shouted. I stepped out holding the remote like a trophy. "Good morning, Karen. You're obstructing community access. No, I'm protecting private property. Yours ends 200 feet back. This," I pointed behind me, "is mine." She jabbed at the keypad. "Open it." "It's not connected to anything," I said. Her nostrils flared. "You don't know who you're dealing with." "Oh, I think I do," I replied, "and now so do the county, the sheriff, and the local paper." Her face drained of color. She screamed something I couldn't hear over the sound of her own SUV peeling away. A few days later, a cement truck tried again. Early morning light rain. The driver didn't even slow down. When he hit, the boom echoed across the valley. The truck's front end folded like a soda can. The gate stood flawless. By the time I reached the site, the driver was limping out, clutching his shoulder. Sirens wailed in the distance. Neighbors gathered staring at the wreck. Then Karen arrived again, clipboard in hand, barking at everyone like she was in charge. The sheriff asked if I owned the gate. I handed him the laminated folder permit, surveys, county resolutions. He took one look and nodded. "You're within your rights, sir." Karen tried to argue, but the deputy cut her off. "Ma'am, the HOA may be liable for this damage. I suggest you stand down." She turned red, muttering something about harassment, but no one listened. When the tow truck dragged the cement mixer away, the whole neighborhood was silent. One neighbor whispered, "That gate's beautiful." I just smiled. I thought that was the end. But Karen wasn't done. A week later, deputies knocked on my door with a county investigator. Karen had filed a new complaint claiming my gate was unlawful and dangerous. I led them to the gate, handed them the same folder, and showed them the footage of the crash in crisp 4K. The detective just nodded, airdropped the file, and said, "You're in the clear." But I wasn't satisfied with clear. I wanted closure. So I called Lydia, Amanda's cousin, a real estate attorney who used to work in municipal code enforcement. I hadn't talked to her since the funeral, but when I told her what happened, she just said, "Email me everything." I love a good HOA takedown. She hit them fast. Filed a counterclaim for property damage, defamation, and harassment. Demanded full discovery of HOA internal emails. Within a week, Karen went silent. Then came the final battle, a zoning commission hearing. Karen dragged the HOA lawyers in, hoping to get my gate declared illegal. She didn't realize I'd spent half my career working with that same commission. I knew their rules better than she did. The hearing was packed. Lydia laid out the evidence, videos, maps, county resolutions. The commissioner leaned forward. "So, let me get this straight," he said. "You told them to stop, and they sued you instead." "That's right," I answered. Karen tried to argue, but Lydia slid a copy of the 1984 resolution across the table. The easement was terminated 40 years ago. The HOA never reapplied. They've been trespassing the entire time. The room went dead quiet. When the decision came, the chairwoman spoke slowly, every word slicing through the air. The commission finds that the HOA acted in disregard of private property boundaries. The complaint is denied in full. Karen's face froze. One of her attorneys muttered something and walked out. Lydia just whispered, "That's checkmate." I left the building without looking back. Outside, the rain had stopped, and for the first time in months, I felt the air clear. When I got home, Duke ran up to greet me by the gate, our gate still standing tall and untouched. I rested my hand on the cold metal and thought about Amanda, about how they'd tried to bulldoze everything she left behind. I picked up her last packet of seeds, dug a small hole by the garden, and planted them under a new sign I'd made. It didn't say, "No trespassing." It didn't say, "Private property." It said, "This land is loved." Walk carefully, because that's what they never understood. It was never just about the land. It was about the right to stand your ground when the world tells you to move. And sometimes the quietest man builds the strongest wall not to keep people out, but to protect what truly matters within.